Hello Nidorinas and Nidorinos, I'm KingNido, and today it is the Petalburg Razors going up against the Levincia Wonders. And as they have a look at their first opening hand of the season, let's have a look at this tale of the tape, where for the Petalburg Razors, they made it all the way to the Champions game. They were one game away from the ultimate rebound, having taken our inaugural wooden crown, and this is their opportunity to respond to that loss in that Champions game. But they're going up against the Levincia Wonders, who for the second season in a row missed out on victory road, and they want to kick this one off right. So with that said, let us know in the comments below who you think is going to win this matchup. Will it be the Colorless decks? Will it be the Lightning decks? Let's go!
3, 2, 1, go!
And going first in this matchup, it is the Ruins of Conflict deck that the Levincia Wonders have gotten. They've got the Tapu Koko plus the Shinx and the Blitzel in hand. They've got the Luxray and the Luxios as they put the Blitzel in the active spot with the Tapu Koko on the bench. It is the Apom from the Imperial Command deck of the Petalburg Razors. But here we go, our game one in this 3-match series where all 3 matches count towards the leaderboard, 2 points for a win in each of these 3 matches, as the Shinx is now pulled for the Wonders and is on the bench. It is the Lillipup being pulled for the Petalburg Razors. They've already got the Herdia and the Stoutland in hand, but they've got that rare candy as they get that one and only required energy for the double hit onto the Apom. It is a coin flip. For each heads, it does 20 damage, and they get 2 tails. This is not the start the Petalburg Razors want in this contest. But this does allow the Levincia Wonders to pull the Togedemaru without any issues on that Blitzel taken damage, who does require 2 energy to start going on the offensive. The Luxio is online for the Wonders, as well as they're thinking about how they want to approach this. And they do choose to get that first energy onto the Blitzel. They don't have a Zeb Striker in hand yet, so it comes back over to the Razors, who get that Poison Barb, that Pokemon tool immediately placed onto the Apom, trying to make the Wonders reluctant to go on the offensive. As the Razors, they're not going to use the rare candy, instead they're just going to get the Herdia online for the time being, potentially trying to save that rare candy for later on in the game for the second Stoutland line, as this time they do get the heads on the first coin flip, they get the tails on the second double hit, so it only connects for 20 damage here. This leaves Blitzel with 40 health remaining. And the Wonders pulling their own Pokemon tool in the leftovers, they are going to place this onto the Blitzel, so it will restore 10 health at the end of every Levincia Wonders turn, not in the switchover portion though. As the Luxray comes online, the rear kick is going to do 40 damage to the Apom, leaving it with only 20 health remaining. That Poison Barb is activated though, so Blitzel has to contend with the poisoning. It does restore 10 health, but it immediately loses it due to that poison status condition. The Razors pulling the Greedent with that enhanced Fang. They are going to get the Stoutland out into that benched position, getting its second energy, and it does only require 2 energy. They've got the Lima in hand, or Ilma. Again, I'm not sure how to pronounce that name, but this will be the only time we do see that card in this deck. This was an error. They were not meant to have that card. They were meant to have a leftover, so the Razors need to do their best to get through this. They are going to retreat the Apom, moving that Stoutland into the active spot, immediately going with the Sharp Fang. They want to take that first point, and that is exactly what they do with that Blitzel going into the discard pile. And as we said, this is not our typical best of 3 series, although it is a 3-match series. All 3 games count, so you can get rewarded for every game that you win. The second Shinx has been pulled by the Wonders as they're starting to set up the Luxray with its first energy. It is the Tapu Koko in the active spot, the Togedemaru on the bench, and there is the Squovit for the Petalburg Razors, immediately going onto that bench with that artwork full of berries, that hungry little thing, as the Stoutland continuing with this Sharp Fang and that Guard Dog Visage. Visage? I think it's Visage. We'll see. Somebody might correct me. It is the Stoutland that causes the opposing side to require an extra energy to start going on the offensive. That Shinx does go on the bench as the second Luxray line is online, and that active Luxray is getting its second of 3 required energy. With that Intimidating Fang as well, it takes 20 less damage from opposing Pokemon. And there is the Greedent coming online, getting its second of 3rd required energy. Another Sharp Fang onto the Tapu Koko, and that is the second point for this Imperial Command deck. They are taking the lead. 1 more point and they will take game 1. As we said, they made it all the way to the Champions game, and they are trying to respond in a big way. And there is that Intimidating Fang ability of the Wonders coming into play, who pull their own rare candy. Now they do have the full Luxray line in hand. Luxray still requires an additional energy to start doing damage to this Stoutland though, and that is massive here because that Electric Ball does do 90 damage. It does come back over to the Petalburg Razors, who pull their second Greedent here. And the Razors thinking about how they want to approach this. They do get a third energy onto their active Greedent, and it is going to be another Sharp Fang. Only 50 damage though onto the Luxray due to that Intimidating Fang ability. This is the Zeb Striker being pulled, but that Blitzel is in the discard pile. The second Luxray is online on the bench. They're taking their time. They intelligently make sure to put that fourth energy needed onto the Luxray so it can start going for this Electric Ball. 90 damage onto the Stoutland. Massive for the Levincia Wonders and this Ruins of Conflict deck, as the Razors have pulled the Ambipom, and with this Catching Tail it can get a Pokemon tool out of the deck, but unfortunately they have made this error. We can see it now, that Sharp Fang is in, that Poison Fang, Poison Barb, there we go, we got it that time, is on the Ambipom, and there's 50 more damage onto the Luxray. And it is the second Togedemaru being pulled. There are the Sophocles in this Ruins of Conflict deck, as the Wonders need to think about how they want to start attaching these next energies. They do get one onto their bench, the Luxray. They go with the Electric Ball. They finally get that Stoutland off the board, getting their first point in this matchup, but that active Luxray only has 30 health remaining. The Greedent does 50 damage, which is all that the Petalburg Razors need to take this game one. It's a matter of whether or not they see this win condition immediately. They try it and are looking at this Catching Tail to try and get a Pokemon tool, and it is not in the deck. As we said, there was an error with this deck coming into play, but this matchup was allowed to go ahead as the Enhanced Fang, regardless, is going to take down that Luxray, that Link Ilma card, not actually coming into effect this matchup whatsoever, but that is 2 points for the Petalburg Razors on the leaderboard. You can get a maximum of 6 points per series if you can get a clean sweep, otherwise it will be 4 and 2 depending on how it goes. We did see some ties last season, but with that said, with this table reset, if you're enjoying what you're seeing, make sure to like and subscribe so you never miss any of the action in the PokeType League TCG. It will be that Lost Thunder deck now of the Levincia Wonders going first. They've got the Zeraora, wow, I never thought that name would be so hard to say. Zera. Oh, forget it. As the Oricorio and the Xurkitree going on to the bench, the Joltik is in hand with the Guzma as the Petalburg Razors using their Awakened Heroes deck. They have the Type Note. They've also got a Kamala that they're going to move into the active spot. They've already got the Silvaloi as well, and here we go with our Game 2 matchup. And it is the second Joltik being pulled for the Levincia Wonders. The great thing about this Zeraora card with that Thunderclap Flash is at the end of this turn, as we see happening now, it generates an energy for itself so it can start going on the offensive in the next turn. The Gladion has been pulled for the Petalburg Razors, and that Silvaloi has the capability of doing 100 damage when a supporter card is played on the same turn. Now Kamala, every time it has an energy attached, it immediately falls asleep. It is a bit of a detractor for this Pokemon with that comatose ability. There it is, falling asleep, having one energy attached. There's not much else they can do with this turn, so the Razors are going to send it back over to the Wonders, but they get that coin flip. They need the Kamala to wake up, and it is still asleep, but they still have time for it to wake up before it comes back to them. The Galvantula being pulled for the Wonders. They immediately fill their last bench slot with the Joltik, and here's the Zeraora, who does get its second energy for this Lightning Claw, doing 50 damage. It leaves the Kamala with only 50 health remaining. And the Razors, with another coin flip, the Kamala will remain asleep. They do pull the big Malasada though, so this can actually awaken it straight away, but they would want to be intelligent. If they want to go and attach an energy to it, they need to attach that energy before they use the big Malasada. But it looks like they're setting up the Type Null. They're happy to let the Kamala take the damage because they are getting that Silvaloi online. The Brave Bodies, as we said, does only 50 damage, but if a supporter card is played in the same turn, it does an additional 50. They are going with another coin flip. The Kamala is going to wake up, but I do not think this Zeraora card is going to be too concerned with that. They do pull the Beastite on the side of the Levincia Wonders. Both these sides having Ultra Beasts inside their deck. Have got the Lucamines and the Beastites, as well as those Beast Balls. And the Wonders thinking about how they want to approach this. They do get that Galvantula online. They're having a look at the Xurkitree, who has that Electronica, does do 60 damage, I believe. But they're opting to set up the Galvantula with its first energy, and they're going to get that Beastite onto the Xurkitree as well, allowing it to do an additional 10 damage for every point that the Levincia Wonders have taken with this Lost Thunder deck, and they have just taken their first one, moving that Kamala into the discard pile, putting the Razors on the back foot early on in this second game. But it is the Silvally moved into the active spot, and they pull their own Ultra Beast. It is the Celesteela being moved onto the bench. They've got the Lusamine that can allow them to have 2 random energies in their discard pile moved onto the Celesteela here. Now, they only had 1 on the Kamala. They do get a second energy onto the Silvally, and they're going to play the Gladion, I can't believe I tripped over that name, as the Type Null is pulled from the deck. It could have also provided them with a Silvally, but that Type Null is moved onto the bench. The Beastite being placed onto the Celesteela. Again, an extra 10 damage for each point. It could be them or their opponent has taken. I believe it's them, I'm confident, as they are successful in taking down the Zeraora to get their first point of the game. Now the Wonders need to decide none of their Pokemon can actually outlast a boosted Brave Body's attack. The second Oricorio is pulled again. The Galvantula in the active spot, it does get its second energy. And they are contemplating, and they do go with the second Joltik on the bench. It can paralyze the opposing Pokemon, as does this Electric Shock. It can paralyze, as well as discarding all the energy that it has from the Galvantula. There it is, Silvally is left with that paralysis, so it can't go on the offensive just now, and it can't retreat either. So this buys the Wonders a little bit of time, but the big Melisada is being used to restore the Silvally's paralysis. It is restored back to normal conditions, and they're going to put the leftovers onto it as well. This will allow it to have health restored again at the end of the Razors' turns. They've got the Celesteela with that Moonbuff on that they're having a look at, can do 100 damage, but instead they're going to set up the Type Null, and they're going to play the Lusamine. Now, this will generate 1 energy because that was all that was in the discard pile onto the Celesteela, but with the Brave Buddies, the Galvantula is wiped off the board, and the Petalburg Razors have taken their second point as they are looking to take game 2. But the Wonders are trying their luck with the Joltik. They want the Silvally to be paralyzed here, so that way they can try and build some momentum. They pull their Poison Barb as well, and they're going to play their Guzma. This will rid the Pokemon tools from the Pokemon on the side of the Petalburg Razors. It is the Poison Barb being placed onto the Joltik as while they want to make the Razors reluctant to go on the offensive. With this Jolt, it only does 10 damage, but it's if it can get that paralysis onto the Silvally. That's the key bit, and they are successful in doing so. Silvally is left with the paralysis. It comes back over to the Petalburg Razors. They pull the Poison Barb. They're immediately going to get that onto the Silvally as well. And they are unable to retreat the Silvally here, but they're going to set up the Celesteela with its second energy, and they do send it back over to the Wonders. They need that same fortune with the Joltik, but they've pulled the Professor's Research. They could actually get that second Galvantula here, and they could get rid of the Celesteela. They get a Lusamine, they get the second Xurkitree here. And they do get a first energy onto the Oricorio, and they're going to retreat the Joltik, hoping for that Oricorio to be able to outlast a hit from the Silvally, because they don't know if a supporter card will be pulled by the Razors. They do pull the Beast Wall, but with that said, and they can play this will reduce the damage that Ultra Beasts take in the next turn, but they can only use it if the opposing side hasn't taken any points, I believe. However, they are taking their time with this. They don't want to rush it. There is a win condition here for them, and I think they might be able to see it because they are going to get that third energy onto the Celesteela. They're going to retreat the Silvally. It's a 1 energy retreat cost, moving the Celesteela into the active spot. Now, they need to flip a heads though. If it tails, it does nothing, but they get the heads and 100 damage, wiping this Oricorio off the board, and the Petalburg Razors have taken game 2, and they are aiming for the clean sweep as we head into our game 3 with our final board reset. Now the Wonders don't want to start this season in a bad way. They've flipped heads and they're going with the Blush Mountain deck now, and they do have the Golem line in hand, both the Geodude, Graveler, and Golem all in their Alolan forms, but it's the Emolga they move into the active spot. They've also got that rare candy. It is the Geodude on the bench. The Razors are using their Verdant Cavern deck, and they've got the Skitty and the Delcatty, but they've got the Stuffle and the Bewares. It is the Skitty in the active spot. They do put one Stuffle on the bench. They've got a second Stuffle in hand, but here we go. Our game 3, the Wonders trying to get 2 points with a victory, but the Razors are trying to take all 6 for themselves. The Wonders do pull the Heliolisk and not much else they can do, so they send it over to the Razors, who do pull the Oranguru. They are going to get that one and only required energy for Skitty to start doing 20 damage to the Emolga, chipping away here. That does end their turn very swiftly. Coming back over to the Wonders, who pull the Helioptile, which they can immediately get onto the bench. Again, they've got that Heliolisk in hand, and of all the Pokemon's name that I seem to be able to say, it's Heliolisk, which is just ridiculous, but it is the Graveler now coming online. They're going to save that rare candy as well. And they are starting to set up the Graveler, leaving the Emolga in the active spot. The second Beware has been pulled, so the second Stuffle goes onto the bench, and it is going to be the super powered Hug Beware moved onto the bench. But the Delcatty, with this energy assist, it can generate extra energy for the Pokemon on the bench. They are colorless energy, so it's very rare that we see them come into play, but the energy assist also does 30 damage to the Emolga, so 30 damage there. And again, they get to generate an energy, and they're going with the Beware that is online. It does require 3 energy for that super powered Hug. The Sophocles being pulled for the Levincia Wonders here, and it can boost the damage of the Togedemaris that we saw earlier on. They weren't able to capitalize on it, but it can also boost the damage of the Golem that is now online, as is the Heliolisk. And the Golem gets its second of 4 required energy. It does come back over to the Razors, who get the Young Goose here. They've got those Gumshoes in the deck, and the second Beware with those 4 energy requirements for that 130 damage is now online, but that energy assist does continue. And this is a great thing about the Delcatty in this deck, is that it can help power up these Bewares much quicker than expected, generating those additional energies. They've both got 2 on them currently. One of them requires 3, the other does require 4, but the Heliolisk is online, only requiring 1 energy. The Wonders pulling their second rare candy, and the Heliolisk gets its single energy for this rear kick. 40 damage to the Delcatty, but Delcatty has 90 health, so it can actually outlast 3 of these, or it takes 3, sorry, for them to be taken down, as the second Young Goose is pulled for the Petalburg Razors. And they are going to get the Oranguru onto the bench, who requires 3 energy to also come online. But again, that Delcatty, these energy assists are massive, and they are playing this Verdant Cavern deck expertly here as they continue to generate these energies for the Beware here. 1 with 3. Now the 2 Bewares only require 1 more energy each. The second Golem has been pulled for the Levincia Wonders, but they get a 3rd energy onto that benched Golem. The rear kick continuing from the Heliolisk. And Delcatty with only with only 10 health remaining, the second Skitty has been pulled. The Razors getting another energy onto the Oranguru here. So surely, as they're looking at this super powered Hug Beware, it is a 2 coin flip Pokemon, and then they need both heads as opposed to the Tantrum Beware. It does just do 130 damage, but the super powered Hug, they need 2 head coin flips to immediately knock out the opposing Pokemon as they continue to generate energies with this energy assist. And they're thinking about who they want to place it on, and they're going with the Tantrum Beware. You have to think that's who they're aiming to get into that active spot. The Alolan Geodude has been pulled for the Wonders. Again, they've got those rare candies so they can get that Golem online on their next turn. And the Wonders can retreat the Heliolisk, but they know that Super Zap Cannon will be prevented from being used in the following turn, so they're saving it here. But that means they have to give up this Heliolisk because it is an easy target for the Petalburg Razors. They're looking at the Tantrum Beware. Again, it does do 130 damage. It does confuse the opposing Pokemon, but in this case, it is just going, it would take Heliolisk off the board, but it's the Oranguru coming online. They do pull the big Malasada. They get a 3rd energy for that hammer in of the Oranguru to wipe Heliolisk off the board, and the Razors take their 2nd point. They are 1 point away from a clean sweep. This is the ultimate way to rebound from a loss in the PokeType League TCG's Champions game, as it is that Alolan Golem being moved into the active spot. This Super Zap Cannon, 150 damage, but it has to discard 2 energy to do so as well. If they're thinking and they need to take their time, they need to put an energy onto that active Golem so it can follow it up in the next turn, but they've gone with the benched Golem. This is not what they need. They could have brought this game back. They're going with the Super Zap Cannon. This will wipe the Oranguru off the board. 150 damage. That is massive. Oranguru into the discard pile. Next point will win game 3, but the Wonders and this Blush Mountain deck have just made a crucial error. And the Razors, they do move the Beware into the active spot. The Gumshoes has been pulled for the Razors, so they get a Young Goose onto the bench. They do get a 1st energy onto it. And here is the tantrum as... Sorry, it's not the opposing Pokemon that's confused, it's Beware that's going to be confused. So this will leave the Wonders with an opportunity here. But again, they could have gotten an energy already onto that Golem. It would be able to go onto the offensive already if they hadn't have set one up onto the benched Golem here. They have to contend with that confusion that is on the Beware. The Poison Bar being pulled for the Petalburg Razors, but the Gumshoes is online. It can do 50 damage as it gets its second energy here, and the Beware has a 3 energy retreat cost, and that is exactly what the Petalburg Razors are going to do. They discard 3 energy, they move the Gumshoes into the active spot, and a total team effort to take down this Blush Mountain deck, and the Petalburg Razors have opened up Season A3 with a clean sweep win over the Levincia Wonders, the ultimate rebound. They want to carry this momentum all season long, as next round they will have the bye, but after that they'll be going up against the Kitakami Rogues, whereas for the Wonders next round they're going up against the Olivine Raiders. But until then, Nidorinos, thank you so much for watching. Let us know in the comments below what you thought the best card was, and if you enjoyed what you saw, please leave a like, share, subscribe, but more importantly, always remember, send thanks, and I'll see you when you see me.